Hi, I'm Rayma.
And I'm Andrea.
And this is Mile High Murder. We are just slightly obsessed with true crime. We text each other when new missing persons cases are unfolding. We add each other to Facebook sleuth groups and definitely feel like we have solved the cases before anyone else. We aren't creepy, I promise.
I'm sorry. That was dumb.
It's fine, I'm just gonna laugh.
I'm ready. Sorry. Merry Christmas, Rayma.
That was so jolly. Merry Christmas.
It's the best time of the year.
It's the most wonderful time.
It's beautiful. This isn't a singing podcast.
I know,
though.
I don't have a singing voice either, so you don't want me to.
Bless your heart, though.
Bless my heart.
We are recording this for you for a special Christmas present.
Yeah, it's a really dark Christmas present.
It is, but it happened on Christmas.
It did, which is super sad.
So sad. But I
bet you can guess from that what it is.
If you're a dark and twisty person like us,
or even a true crime fan at all, even you just lived,
or you live in Colorado,
or you lived in the past, you were alive.
You were alive in the last 20 years.
Yeah, you know this case. Everyone knows this case.
Everyone knows this case. This was the first one that I put on the list when we decided to do a true crime podcast because I was like, yes, I want to do this so bad.
And then, of course, it stayed on the list when we kept it to Colorado true crime.
Yes, it did. And now
here we are.
Here we are. Christmas present to you. The murder.
Christmas present to Andrea, too.
For real. The murder of JonBenét Ramsey. I thought there was going to be a better, like, dun, dun, dun.
Well, I mean, I already knew, but that's the one we were doing.
But they didn't.
You guys didn't. So
no.
we didn't get the reaction, which was what Andrea was hoping for.
I know. You really let me down there.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
There's a lot of pressure on my shoulders.
It's okay. So, Merry Christmas. Here's your story.
Tell me about it.
This, I'm sure, like so many people know the things.
Yeah, but sometimes you need to be reminded of the details.
And there were
in
things
a case you know a lot about.
After she was murdered that I didn't know about. Like, anyway, so we'll get into that. But I want to tell you first, this is out of Boulder, Colorado, if you didn't know or don't remember. And they had this big, beautiful house in Boulder. I don't remember what street it was on. That doesn't matter. All of my citations, is that the right word?
Sources.
Okay, sure. DenverPost, great timeline. Love their timelines. Rolling Stone actually had a really good article about something about Burke, her brother.
Okay.
And then obviously Wikipedia.
Yes, obviously.
Because all of them have pages on Wikipedia. So
I'm sure every member of this family
so
does.
So much.
Yeah. This is probably, I mean, I don't actually know for sure. This is not a fact, but I feel like this is one of the most like notorious cases almost ever. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you could find anything on this case.
Yeah. I mean, it was a big part of pop culture. It was a big part of the 24-hour news cycle.
It was all over the like magazines in the grocery store.
Yeah. Burke was one of his kids, and so they were step siblings.
So they had two step siblings. So JonBenet had Burke and then two step siblings.
No.
Burke was
JonBenet is a child, so she didn't have Burke.
No. I didn't. I had Burke as a brother.
He was her stepbrother.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really? Mm-hmm. I didn't know that.
Oh no, I'm sad. I said that wrong. Nope. You're right. Yep.
Okay.
Sorry. Two step siblings. I'm an idiot. Anyway, so she was born to John and Patsy Ramsey, which everyone knows them. Yeah. And she had an older brother named Burke, and then John had actually been married before, and so they had step siblings.
Okay. He had how many?
2, I believe.
Okay.
This is why I think this story was so scandalous, I guess, is because she was a child beauty queen who was well known in the pageant circuit. Like when you see pictures of her, she doesn't look like a kid. She looks like a 20-year-old woman.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I think at that time too, I mean, nowadays it's almost like Honey Boo Boo. It's like almost like a norm.
Honey Boo Boo, yeah.
But at that time it was a little bit like, why would you have your 6-year-old kid doing this? You
right.
know?
People really, I think, judged them for that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they still do, but it's a little more mainstream now.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. John Ramsey was born in Lincoln, Nebraska, and he went to Michigan State with a bachelor's in electrical engineering. So he was a really Smart
guy.
dude. And then he went on to get a master's degree in business. Then he joined the Navy in 1966. Thank you for your service. And he served as a civil engineer corps officer in the Philippines.
Oh.
He was busy.
Wow. There's a lot about him I didn't know.
Oh, here's an answer to the question. John married Lucinda Pash, and they had 3 children.
3. Okay.
3. I thought for sure it was 2, but whatever. Anyway. But they got divorced after 12 years. And in 1982, one of their daughters was killed in a car crash.
Oh, that's why. Sorry. This is sad,
you're
but
right.
that's why you thought there was 2.
That's right.
That's really sad. He lost 2 daughters.
I know. Isn't that horrible?
Yeah.
In 1989, he formed a computer services company called Access Graphics that would later become a subsidiary of Lockheed Martin, which I was like, I know that name. Why do I know that name? And so I gave it a goog.
I gave it a goog.
Don't you listen to True Crime Obsessed? Patrick Hines always says that. And I'm like,
No.
I just integrate it into my life.
Thank you, True Crime Obsessed.
I know. He's the best. So it's actually an American global aerospace defense security and advanced technologies company with worldwide interests.
Wow.
Obviously.
That was a mouthful. How does he describe where he works?
I wouldn't.
Yeah. I just make a lot of money. That's all you need to know.
Yeah. Okay. And then in 1996, Access Graphics actually grossed over $1 billion. And he was named Entrepreneur of the Year by the Boulder Chamber of Commerce.
Wow.
Commerce, not Converse. Not like the shoes. I'm on the struggle bus today, guys. This is rough.
Oh my gosh.
We started and stopped so many times and I don't care anymore.
Yeah, that was
We're just going to talk about shoes now.
Commerce.
Yeah, sure.
I love Converse, though.
Me too.
So we could talk about those, too. Maybe a different podcast.
Maybe. Then...
Anyways, he was like really, really like a big deal.
He was a big deal. And in 1996, at May that year, he was reportedly worth $6.4 million.
Whoa.
Which 23 years ago
Yeah,
is even more money than it is now.
totally.
So
That is insane.
bananas.
I can't imagine having that much money.
I can. So then Patsy was, I don't know why I said it like that, was born in West Virginia. She graduated from West Virginia University with a BA in journalism. And she too was a beauty pageant winner. She actually won the Miss West Virginia pageant at 20 years old in 1977. And then when she was 23, she married John and they had their first son together, Burke. He was born in 1987. And then JonBenet came along 3 years later. In 1991, the Ramseys moved to Boulder, Colorado for business. And when she was old enough, Patsy was like, okay, it's beauty pageant time. Let's do this.
I could just imagine her. Okay, it's beauty pageant time.
Yeah, for sure. So she was a little beauty queen. She was known all around the world. I mean, I didn't know about her until she was JonBenét Ramsey, you know,
Right.
but I guess in that world, she was well known.
She was well
kept
known.
winning.
Yeah. She was beautiful.
Stunningly. But I thought Patsy was beautiful.
Yeah.
She was gorgeous. So as we know, the story goes, on December 26, 1996, Patsy came down the stairs after freshening up her hair and makeup, which I think is adorable, very Southern of her.
Totally Southern of her.
Totally. I look like a monster when I come downstairs.
I don't even take up my makeup the night before. So.
That is terrible for your skin and your eyeballs.
It is.
Rima.
I mean, sometimes I do.
So at 5:45, she does this and comes downstairs to start the coffee.
That's crazy.
But as she comes down the staircase, she notices a 2.5-page letter sitting on the staircase. It was a ransom note stating that someone had kidnapped JonBenet. The letter begins with, Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. Which, that immediately, the first part, all the analysts, investigators were like,
Yeah.
Who does that?
A group of individuals.
A group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction.
Yeah.
That's just too much.
It's weird.
Who has time to write that whole sentence
This whole letter is seriously the most bizarre thing ever.
It is so crazy.
So bizarre.
Yeah. It goes on to demand $118,000, which is, such a weird random amount. We find out obviously later that was the amount that he got in a bonus check for Christmas that year.
Yeah, so
Like,
weird.
who knows that?
Yeah. which also, I want that bonus.
For real. Well, I don't want to be an electrical engineer, though.
No.
The letter continues on for 2 pages, and it actually details how the bills are supposed to be delivered, which I didn't know that. I didn't know that there were like
details of that.
Details, but that makes sense. And then they also threaten JonBenet's safety if they don't do as the letter demands, of course, obviously. And then the letter is signed "Victory!" SBTC.
So weird.
So
everything about this letter is so weird.
Off. Everything's off. So Patsy runs to JonBenet's room to find her, to like look for her, and finds that she isn't in her bed, and she screams. So then John hears her screaming, runs downstairs, and Patsy's actually in the stairwell, and she tells him that JonBenet had been kidnapped, and they immediately go to check on Burke. You know, he's 9, so they're like, oh my gosh, I hope they,
is he here? Where is he? Yeah.
Right. So she calls 911 stating that, and I quote, that we have a kidnapping, which is such an odd. Okay.
Yeah, super odd.
So she's calling 911. John's reading the ransom letter. And as soon as she hangs up with 911, she starts calling her friends and family to tell them what's happened.
I mean,
I don't
know what I would do in this situation, but I don't think I'd call. I think I would. Okay, there's a possibility I would call one person.
I think I might call the parents, like the grandparents, or text them.
Yeah.
And say, this is what's happening.
But I don't think I'd be calling any friends unless it was like, oh, maybe you have her, but like that would not. If there was a ransom letter,
5:40 in the morning.
Yeah.
Like no, and there's a ransom letter. Exactly. Yeah. Just odd. It's just
so
all of it's odd.
Weird.
So she came down the stairs at 5:45. At 5:59, officers arrive on scene.
That's quick.
I think so too.
Yeah.
But again, it's like the morning after Christmas.
It's true. It's probably pretty quiet.
Yeah, right. And it's Boulder in the 90s.
Also, yeah.
Anyway. Okay, so they're there. The Boulder police arrive. And then 2 are John and Patsy's friends just walking in the house.
Yeah, that's weird.
Which I get it. Like, you are hysterical. Like, I understand having your people around you, but it's also a crime scene.
I'm pretty sure, again, if I was on the other end and I got called because, like, one of my friend's kids went missing, I don't think my first thought would be I should go to their house.
Nope. Mm-mm.
I think I would be like, what other things can I do to help? But I don't think I'd be like, let me
freak out privately.
Yeah.
Yeah, so odd, but that's them, I guess. Then, according to police reports, Officer Rick French, quote, reads the note and later conducted a quick search of the house. And I believe it was 3 stories, maybe 4, basement, main level, upstairs. And then I think there was like a little attic space. I can't remember.
But like this quick search is basically like making sure she's not hiding in a room or scoping, like someplace a kid would hide almost, or sure, I guess.
So he actually goes down to the basement and finds that there's a door locked with like a wooden latch, but he just turns around and walks away. He doesn't like check behind it. Right, exactly what you said. Like he's just checking to make sure.
Quick, like if where is she somewhere?
For sure. My aunt used to sleep under the table. Like
I wonder. Okay, that being said, I don't how high was the latch on the.
I don't know.
Because if it wasn't high enough for a kid to reach, maybe he was just thinking like, okay, if a kid...
It couldn't have been her.
Yeah, she couldn't open that.
For sure.
Or, yeah.
And thus, anything you read will tell you that this case from start to finish was botched. Like,
oh, yeah.
The Boulder police were like the B team because it was a holiday. And so it wasn't the guys who were the murder investigator dudes. That was so eloquent.
Yeah. Well, and at this point, it's not a murder; it's a kidnapping. For sure. But like, they just don't really know what they're walking into.
Right. Exactly.
So they're definitely not walking into it prepared for it to be a crime scene.
For sure. But it still is because it was a kidnapping.
Right.
We have a kidnapping. Anyway, so just keep that in mind, knowing that all the things that you will hear are not how they would be conducted now.
Yeah.
One of those major details was that they didn't secure the crime scene. The investigator finally arrives at the house at 8:10. Like that's a
long time.
That's a minute.
Yeah.
That's a minute. And still doesn't lock down the house. So friends and family are literally just moving in and out of the house, traipsing all around. And the only room that they have cordoned off is JonBenet's. That's it. Nothing else in the house. As the investigation continued, it gets to about 10:30, and John leaves to get his mail.
Okay.
But obviously, they find out later that that isn't true because there's like a slot on their front door where the mail's delivered.
Wait, okay. Does he have a P.O. box, though?
I mean, he could.
Maybe he went to a P.O. box.
It doesn't matter. It's the day after Christmas. And your daughter's kidnapped.
Right. But maybe he did go to get his mail and it was at a P.O. box, which is still weird. It's still weird he would do that. But
and maybe he's thinking like maybe there's another letter in there or something.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean,
Devil's advocate.
Again, don't know what I'd be doing
I
in
have
this situation.
no idea. I don't think I'd go to the post office.
I don't think so either.
I guess I'll never know.
But, I mean, you're right. Maybe somewhere in his head, he was like, what if there's a letter in there that they sent me?
For sure.
Let me go check.
Right. So during the initial investigation, there are no interviews with John and Patsy. What the heck?
Yeah, that's so weird.
It isn't until 1 p.m. that the Boulder Police Department are like, let's do a more thorough search of the house and like really go into all the whatever.
Yeah, I feel like that should have been done like first thing.
Should have. And the weird other thing about this is that John and one of his friends just go with them. They're searching with them. And it's like, bro, no, sit down.
Bro, no.
They're asking John, do you see anything that's amiss in this house or whatever? They go to the basement without gloves. Again, all the things are just so backwards. And John shows them that there's a spare bedroom. And he like steps in front of them and opens the door and he finds JonBenet laying on the floor. So then they are not even like in that area right now. Like he screams and says, oh my gosh, here she is. And he picks her up and carries her out of the room, which I can't say I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I guess as the father, I'm not trying to keep a crime scene alive. You're thinking about my child.
Right, yeah. Exactly. So I don't...
Not that I've ever
I understand
been a father,
that's the wrong thing to do.
Right.
They shouldn't have had him go.
Right.
However, as a parent,
yeah,
how could you not?
Yeah.
So they find immediately that she has a massive skull fracture and was actually strangled by a garrote.
Yeah, that's so
horrible. Her mouth and neck were actually bound with duct tape, which the investigators removed. Right there.
Did they try to like do CPR or something? Is that why they removed it, or are they just for?
I never read that. And from there, they actually carry her upstairs and lay her under the Christmas tree. Look at my Christmas tree right there.
Yeah.
Just laid her right there.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
And then cover her with a blanket and a Colorado Avalanche sweatshirt. So think about all of those. I don't know.
Oh,
think about all of those things, like all the fibers that are being transferred, like all of the, it's contaminated. She's totally contaminated immediately.
Even the fact that she's moved that far.
I know. They didn't photograph her where they found her. Nothing. They took all the duct tape off, the garrote. Like, come on.
It's crazy.
Anyway, I'm annoyed. Can you tell?
Yeah.
At 1:30 p.m., keep in mind, they got there at 5:59. At 1:30 p.m., the scene is finally officially secured.
After they find her body and
move it and
contaminate everything.
And remember, they don't have gloves on, so they just touched her. They just picked her up and because he handed her to the investigators with no gloves on.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. Anyway, so now they're like, oh, we don't want to contaminate the scene. Annoying. Anyway, 10 minutes later, excuse me, officers overhear John make a call to his pilot asking to get a flight for his family to Atlanta. What are you thinking, bro?
Not my. There's so many things here.
It's all the things, everything.
All the things.
When you put it all, like when I was typing this out, I was like, is this a joke?
Yeah. That is why it's like such a crazy, everyone's like, think that they did it. Because there's not just one thing or two things that they did like that were weird.
List.
It was a lot of things that, or they were involved somehow.
So obviously the officers are like, you're not going anywhere. You can sit down. So they actually make arrangements to stay with friends in town, which makes complete sense. You got to stay in town. Your daughter just died. At 2:30 that afternoon, police finally interview Burke, and he tells them that he didn't hear anything, that he slept through all of it. So even Patsy screaming, like the hysterical 911 call, nothing. He didn't hear any of it, which...
So what time did he supposedly wake up when they went in to make sure he was still there?
Possibly. I don't know. I never read that part. Then at 8 p.m. that evening, the coroner finally arrives to examine her body. 8 o'clock, Rima.
That is crazy.
I'm so annoyed right now.
Yeah. Was it just different times in Boulder County at this time or
know.
what?
I mean, I think they were out of their league.
Yeah.
There'd never been a high profile.
Right.
Quote,
or even the fact
kidnapping.
that this was a child, like it's already
right.
a big deal. It's the day after Christmas.
Right.
Everything is already like a traumatic big deal.
For sure.
That they're just obviously having a hard time handling it correctly.
Mm-hmm. So it isn't until 10:45 that night that JonBenet's body is finally taken to the coroner's office. I mean, so much time has passed. And then a few days later, on December 30th, the Boulder PD take blood and hair samples from the Ramsey family members. So, I mean, they did that, but could we do it on the scene? And on December 31st, 6 days after JonBenet is murdered, she was laid to rest in Marietta, Georgia, next to her half-sister Elizabeth, his other daughter who died. So on January 1st, which I know we've all seen this, everybody's seen this interview, the Ramseys get on TV, and I believe it was Patsy said that there was a killer on the loose, and John called it, quote, nauseating beyond belief that anyone could think that someone in the family had killed her.
So,
like, well,
okay, I had
put all the
also
pieces together.
read that, so that you just said that was on January 30.
Nope.
January what?
1st,
sorry. So this is, like 2 weeks, kind of almost a little less than after.
Way less than. It was the 26th that they found her.
What I had read is that they hadn't still not been interviewed by the police at that point. Or they were not, like, allowing police to interview them or at that point. So they went to TV before they talked to the police. That's crazy.
So crazy.
I'm pretty sure I would be trying to help the police.
I know. It's just everything about this is so backwards that you just... Anyway.
It just feels like it literally feels like a show.
It does. I know.
And I remember at the time when it happened, like seeing these things and being like, this, it felt like a show, you know, not even knowing then like the whole story. Yes, very much so. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it was because she was a beautiful little girl and it was so shocking that someone could do this.
Yeah.
And it being your home and you're there when it happens, allegedly, and whatever, you know, like it's terrible. Yeah. So they continued to investigate. They actually are able to, a couple months later, they have a handwriting expert come in and obviously like analyze the ransom letter.
Yeah.
And they rule John out as writing the ransom note, but they cannot rule out Patsy because it's inconclusive. Which, if you watch that, I think it's the case of JonBenet Ramsey. Yeah. I think they kind of
talk about
lean heavily that they really believe that it was Patsy who wrote it.
Yeah.
So a year after JonBenet is killed, the Ramseys finally turn the clothes over that they were wearing the night she was murdered to the police. 1 year.
That's insane.
Why was that stuff not bagged like immediately?
That is insane.
And then, or like, when you like get back to the police station and be like, oh crap, we forgot their clothes, you know, like, why is it a year later? And actually I read that they had, they kind of put it off for a while. Like they had asked them for the clothes and it was like 2 weeks later that they finally were like, oh, here they are.
Okay. Whoa.
Weird, right?
How did they even know that for sure those were the clothes they were wearing?
I don't know. And wouldn't you burn them? Like I'd get rid of them. Like I don't want those.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or wash them like a normal.
They'd be washed.
They would have to be.
Yeah.
Right? Anyway. It's so weird. So in June of 1999, the Ramseys decide to move back to Georgia because the media attention, like I remember the media like swarming them all the time, grocery store in front of their house,
you couldn't
all over.
Even function.
No. And the detectives finally think that the best way forward is to convene a grand jury. And so they start deliberating and like investigating this whole thing. Not deliberating. They investigate in June of 1999, which again, that's still 3 years later.
Yeah.
Well, 2.5. And they determine after months that there isn't sufficient evidence to bring charges against anybody, which I don't know. I mean, maybe there could have been if they had like secured the crime scene and like
They
done
could
the
have
right
done things right. Yeah.
Right. So I don't blame them. Obviously, we know that this is unsolved. This is one of those questions that I'm like, I am asking Jesus the second I get up to heaven. I need to know who killed JonBenet.
He's going to be like, Andrea, relax. We have eternity to talk about it.
No, but I need to know right now. And remember that guy, John Mark Carr, a couple years ago, like probably 10 years ago now, said that he did it, which was garbage. And then somebody recently said that he did it. He's a photographer for like, I don't know, like pageant kids or whatever. And of course he's like a dirtbag. So nobody's going to know.
Yeah.
And then sadly in 2006, Patsy died from ovarian cancer without any answers. And then crazy, John dated Beth Holloway, Natalie Holloway's mom.
Weird.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Very briefly. Yep. But then he wound up marrying some other woman and he moved to Michigan. And then crazy, I didn't know this until I started researching this because I don't know, I just missed it. But so CBS aired the case of JonBenet
right
in 2016. And did you watch it?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. I mean, you came away thinking Burke did it.
Absolutely.
That is what that was their narrative.
That was their entire narrative.
But it was an accident. They alleged, or less than alleged, or more than alleged.
They very much, the entire thing was about how.
They very much pointed to that he had actually hit her in the head with a toy and it was an accident and he killed her. However, moving past that, why was there duct tape on her mouth and a garrote on her neck?
Yeah.
You know, like why was she placed downstairs? Like
Totally.
if it was an accident.
Why were things done that? Why was there a ransom note? Right.
Like all the things. But then because of that, Burke wound up suing CBS for $750 million.
Oh my gosh. He won, didn't he?
They settled.
Okay.
So it was an undisclosed amount of money, but I'm like, he settled high.
Yeah.
So that is the horrific murder of JonBenét Ramsey, which will never be solved, which drives me crazy. Like I'm hoping for a deathbed confession.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I don't know
50 when that happens.
I don't even know that that'll happen. You know, like at
I don't
this
think
point.
so either. And honestly, I think if it was an accident, like if you go the CBS route and it was an accident, like it happens. Like accidents happen.
Right.
But if that was the case and these were the next steps that were taken, then that's the problem.
Yeah.
However, you know, there was evidence of
you're
like
saying if Burke did that on accident and then the family covered it up kind of thing, if that happened, then it'll be like you'll never know.
Never know. Yeah.
What do you think happened? What do you lean towards?
I don't want to get sued.
I don't either.
So we can discuss it later. There was also some evidence. There's so much information. So you have to like pick and choose what you're going to talk about. But, I don't know if you remember, but in the basement, there was a window that was like kind of open and
it was broken.
Possibly maybe somebody could have stepped over the spider web that was on it and like gotten in and then gotten out. I mean, it's a little hinky.
So basically they were saying like if an intruder came in, there was a spider web in this window and the spider web would have not been
like you couldn't have stepped over it or you could not have gotten through the window without breaking that spider web.
But the spider web was not broken.
Right. It was completely intact.
So they were basically saying that an intruder,
it was an inside job.
Yeah.
Is what
it was an inside job
saying.
Is what they're insinuating.
But there's not
this was
enough.
On that CBS special.
Yeah. There's just not enough. They don't have enough evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. And I agree. Like I'm not saying one way or the other, but I certainly couldn't convict somebody on that. It's just too
I mean they
too convoluted.
A jury couldn't, find anyone guilty. Yeah. Mm-mm. So
but I understand why people would think that it was somebody in the family, but she was a well-known little pageant baby.
Right.
everybody knew that kid. And so is it possible that someone slipped in and out? Certainly.
Right.
Of course.
Right.
I mean, they didn't secure the crime scene, so there wasn't,
Could there have been another window open somewhere?
Well, that's what I was thinking. Of
something
course,
unlocked, because that's really the only thing I had heard about. Like, of course it couldn't be an intruder because this one window,
Right.
But like, what about another?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think anything's possible.
I think for me, it's just so many things are so handled so weird for the family, and
Oh my gosh,
so wrong
of course,
with the police as well. So it's just
going to the post office and like trying to get out to Georgia.
Yeah,
dude.
Yeah. Again, though, I don't know how I would handle it if something happened to one of my kids.
I think I would fall down and scream, like hysterically.
Yeah. Or be in shock. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't. I can't imagine that I go to the post office.
I wonder if I got mail. Wait, it was Christmas. Were things delivered on Christmas? No.
I don't know.
So weird.
Yeah.
Well, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, guys. What a bang.
Thanks for, I'm sure you're actually, hopefully you're not listening to this.
I know. I hope you're not. I hope you're
or
opening presents. You're drinking eggnog. I can just imagine you in your
cookies,
plaid pajamas, opening presents,
getting
ready,
wrapping paper everywhere,
getting ready for your Christmas ham, whatever, or your tofu, whatever.
Ew.
Like, I don't know.
Who has Christmas tofu?
Well, my aunt.
What, really?
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
But she doesn't eat meat.
Oh.
So I don't
think
so
she
include
probably
her.
doesn't have tofu. Okay. Well, anyway,
Hope
you enjoy your Christmas tofu, folks.
Merry Christmas, tofu. And guys, this is the last episode of the year.
It is.
It is.
That's crazy.
I know. But we'll be back
We will.
next year.
Yeah. See you next year.
Thanks for listening. We love you guys. Thanks for joining us every Wednesday for a new case, guys. If you are a fan of Mile High Murder, consider subscribing and writing a review and sharing with your friends. You can also follow us on Instagram at Mile High Murder Podcast or search for our discussion group on Facebook. We're always searching for Colorado cases to cover. If you have a case you're dying for us to share, send us an email at milehighmurderpodcast@gmail.com.